Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Summers had never been one to back down from a fight, and certainly not one involving the Empire. Her ambition had always burned bright, sometimes too bright, and this time it looked like it might be the flame that would consume her completely. She had taken a gamble, a high-stakes move to seize power, and for a moment it felt like she might actually pull it off. Enterprises, the titan of Genoa City, was wobbling and was grinning as she stood at the edge of the Empire, arms wide, ready to crown herself queen. She thought she had it figured out, with Kane willing to play dirty, with Billy lured back into the world of scheming by their mutual thirst for payback, believed she had enough leverage to wrest the control away from Victor himself. But if there was one thing she should known by now, it was that Victor didn't lose, not permanently. What started as a quiet whisper of opportunity had become a full-blown assault on the name, and, ever so eager to taste revenge and triumph, didn't care who she sacrificed on the climb up. Summer had always had a complicated relationship with her mother. She loved her, yes, she admired her tenacity, but the betrayal, helping Kane steal from Victor, was a bridge too far. When Summer confronted her mother at the Grand Phoenix, the fury in her eyes was unmistakable. "I trusted you," Summer said, barely containing the tremble in her voice. "We are family, and you chose power over us." Tried to explain, "I did this for you, for our family. Don't you see that Victor's grip on this town is choking everyone?" But Summer didn't flinch. "You did this for yourself." It was the beginning of the unraveling. Daniel wasn't far behind. He stormed into society with a look that could shatter glass, confronting in front of a curious crowd. She had crossed him once before, betrayals old and recent, but this was unforgivable. "If you ever thought I'd let Lucy near you after this mess, you're out of your damn mind." Lucy, who had just started trusting her grandmother again, would now be kept away. Smile, always so confident, faltered. She was losing her children, first emotionally and now physically. That realization settled in like a vice around her heart. Worse still, Summer followed through on the threat too. Harrison, her son with Kyle, had grown fond of the cookies, the stories, the grandma snuggles. Those moments were now relics of the past. Summer's orders were clear: no more visits, no more. It was a blow hadn't prepared for. She could lose empires, money, lovers, but her children, that was a wound she couldn't cover with lipstick or hide behind bravado. The walls began to close in even more when Kane realized what she had done. He had thought, foolishly, that their alliance meant something, that maybe in the chaos of their mutual revenge something real had formed. He was wrong. "You played me," Kane said bitterly, his voice a mix of disgust and heartbreak. "Again." "Didn't deny it, what was the point?" Kane's fury didn't just manifest in words, he took action. Suddenly her access to certain accounts vanished, her secret channels dried up. The very man she'd helped rise now began to chip away at her empire with the precision of a surgeon and the rage of a man scorned. Victor, meanwhile, was a storm gathering in the distance, quiet at first, watching, planning. When the tycoon finally moved, it wasn't with noise but precision. He didn't need to shout or threaten. He simply pulled strings, made calls, activated resources. The kind of retribution that didn't come with warning signs, but with shockwaves. Soon found herself shut out from business circles. The board meetings where she once barged in with flair now took place behind doors she couldn't open. Legal notices began piling up. Friends turned into ghosts. Business contacts vanished. Then came Victoria, always colder, more calculating than her father in many ways. Victoria didn't waste time with sentiment. She had wanted behind bars for the AI scheme from the beginning, and now, with evidence stacking up, she had her shot. "It's time you paid for all the chaos you've caused," Victoria said coldly as she handed over a thick folder to the authorities. The day was arrested, she wasn't dressed for it. She was in a crimson power suit, phone in hand, barking orders to a subordinate when the police approached her in the hotel lobby. "Ms. Summers, you're under arrest for conspiracy, corporate sabotage, and obstruction of justice." The gasp from the crowd was louder than the sound of her phone hitting the marble floor. As handcuffs clicked around her wrists, glanced around. There were no friends rushing to her, no allies in sight, no Daniel, no Summer, no Kane, no Billy. Only the sting of cameras flashing, and Victor's silent satisfaction from across the room as he watched it all unfold. But prison wasn't the final stop, not yet. Billy, who once rode side by side with her in the scheme, had already pulled away. He'd seen the wreckage in her wake and chosen self-preservation. "You're toxic," he told her during a quiet moment just days after her arrest. I thought we could do something great, but I didn't sign up to destroy everything. Even Jack, once her greatest love, her fallback when the world turned cold, kept his distance. Whatever sympathy he had was buried beneath years of disappointment. His silence hurt the most. With no empire, no children, no allies, and no clear path forward, found herself alone in a holding cell, at the concrete wall as though it would blink and tell her this was all a bad dream. But it was. The phoenix she once rose as, fiery, fierce, unstoppable, now sat in ruins, and yet as broken as she was, Summers wasn't entirely extinguished. Not yet. The silence in her jail cell was oppressive. Summers had always lived in motion, planning, plotting, spinning chaos like silk, but now she had nothing but stillness. Her mind replayed every misstep like a broken film reel, from the moment she aligned with Kane to the late-night strategy sessions with Billy, to that final arrogant grin she wore when she thought Victor was finally on his knees. Each memory mocked her. Days turned into weeks. The Genoa City courthouse became her runway now, ankle restraints her heels, courtroom stares her paparazzi, and she walked the same walk, chin held high, even as the press hissed their headlines through clenched jaws. Summers' empire falls. Betrays family. Victor wins again. Inside the courtroom, barely recognized herself. Gone was the polished perfection. In its place stood a woman defending a legacy in shambles. Her lawyer tried, of course. Ms. Summers acted under duress, they argued. There is no proof of malicious intent. She was manipulated by forces around her. The judge wasn't moved. The prosecution was relentless. Exhibit after exhibit, digital trails, recorded phone calls, transfers, corporate sabotage, all laid bare. Victoria sat in the front row every day of that trial, poised like a queen watching her rival be sentenced to the dungeons. Occasionally, Victor would join her, arms crossed, his glare fixed on like a sword held at her throat. Daniel didn't come, Summer didn't either. In her moments she hoped Lucy would appear, maybe just a glance, a wave, something, but there was nothing. Daniel had made good on his promise. Harrison, too, remained a distant memory, a little boy who now probably asked why Grandma Red had disappeared. At one point, even stopped by, not for comfort but clarity. She said, voice low, "You were given chances, so many of them, and every single time, you blew them up just to feel powerful for a moment longer." "I was trying to win," whispered. "But you lost yourself," replied, walking away without waiting for a response. And yet, as it always goes in Genoa City, the fall didn't mean the story was over. The AI scandal had layers, and lawyer unearthed one that nobody saw coming. One of the tech consultants Victoria had used for evidence tampering had part of the AI system's code. The tampering didn't excuse role, but it did throw the legitimacy of the AI prosecution into question. A deal was proposed. Wouldn't walk free, not yet, but she wouldn't rot in prison either. A conditional release, community service, restitution, 6 months of close surveillance. She was out but not welcomed. The Grand Phoenix was no longer hers. The hotel had been quietly absorbed into a property portfolio, then flipped to a faceless conglomerate. Her suite, now a business center, her office, gone. She returned one night just to walk through the lobby unnoticed. The bar staff didn't even recognize her. The streets of Genoa City treated her like a ghost. She'd pass by crimson lights, catching a glimpse of Sharon behind the counter, warmly greeting customers. Sharon had once been her rival, now she barely noticed its existence. Devon and crossed paths with her outside society once. They curtly, no small talk. But there was one person she didn't expect to see, Jack. He found her sitting alone in Chancellor Park one windy afternoon. Her coat was wrapped tightly around her as if she could shield herself from everything she'd lost. "You always did fall spectacularly," Jack said as he sat beside her. Gave a tired smirk. "I used to bounce back better." "I didn't come here to lecture you, I just came to see if there's anything left of the I used to know." She turned to him, eyes vulnerable. "There's not much left of her, Jack." "Then rebuild," he said. "Not for me, not for Billy, not even for your kids, do it for you." That conversation lingered for days. She started showing up to her community service shifts early, quietly. She volunteered extra hours. She helped organize a tech literacy for underprivileged kids, not because it was court-mandated, but because, for the first time in a long time, she didn't have a scheme running in the background. One afternoon, Lucy appeared at the back of the classroom. Daniel stood beside her, arms crossed. "I'm not here to apologize," he said, "but Lucy wanted to see you." Knelt, tears in her eyes as Lucy ran into her arms. That was the moment decided she wasn't going to burn again. She wouldn't touch the Empire, wouldn't plot revenge against Victoria or Kane, wouldn't try to seduce Billy back into her web. She had scorched too many bridges, and this time the rebuilding had to start with bricks of humility. Billy came to see her one evening. They talked for hours. "You still got that spark," he said. "Maybe," she replied, "but I'm going to use it to light my way, not burn everything down." It would be a long road. She'd likely never regain full trust from Summer. She'd need to prove herself again and again to Daniel. Lucy might forgive, but forgetting was another story. Kane was done with her. Victor would never trust her. Victoria would always watch for her next move, but had stopped caring about reclaiming a throne she never truly sat on. Instead, she began hosting free tech workshops at the Genoa City Community Center. She reached out for legal volunteer work. She started fresh, not as the vixen, not as the schemer, not even as the fiery disruptor. Just as. And in those quiet, consistent days without headlines or drama, she found something she hadn't in years. Peace. And for once in her life, Summers didn't crash and burn. She simply stood up and walked forward. Alone, maybe, but finally free.